Bible Alive, Bible Basics, Class Number 2, Understanding the Canon, Part 1. The following presentation would be impossible without these resources, especially 101 Questions and Answers on the Bible by Father Raymond E. Brown. This playlist presents a basic introduction on sacred scripture. You can think of it as a kind of how to boil water course on the Bible, which is the sacred, normative, and inspired library of the Church. What follows are basic questions Catholics and other Christians have about the Bible, these reflecting the thoughts many Christians have concerning it. This particular class is in two parts and deals with what the canon is, the differences of Protestant and Catholic Bibles, the so-called deuterocanonical or apocryphal books, and the so-called lost books of the Bible. Let's begin. The Bible is first and foremost the Church's book. For anyone studying the Bible, the question of the official list of books of which the Bible is composed is of fundamental importance. The canon is that official list or collection of writings that a particular religious group considers as its core scriptures or authorized books, which are used by the group as the basis for its religious beliefs, moral precepts, and communal practices. The Greek word canon originally meant measuring rod, rule, criterion, but later came to mean such a list of writings that met certain criteria. Canonization, or to be canonized, refers to the process by which a book was accepted into the official list of core scriptures, such as the Bible, by a particular religious group. A scriptural canon is usually considered fixed or closed, meaning that no additional books will be added onto it. Scripture originally just meant writings. That's what the word in Latin, scriptus, meant. Scriptus means written. And it parallels the Greek graphe, where we get the word graphics from, and the Hebrew mikra. For us, Scripture almost always refers to religious writings that are considered authoritative, foundational, and or sacred by some religious group. Therefore, there are not only Israelite scriptures and Christian scriptures and Jewish scriptures, but also Muslim scriptures, Hindu scriptures, Buddhist scriptures, etc. The Bible is an authorized collection of Israelite scriptures and or Jesus group scriptures, often simply called the Bible, which are now the Christian scriptures. That's how we interpret them in the Church. Some of these books we share in common with our Jewish brothers and sisters, but they see and interpret these books differently. They see and interpret these common books as the Jewish scriptures. Christians usually think of their Bible as one book, but it is really a whole library, a compilation of many different books of various literary genres. It's not just one book. The word Bible comes from the Greek ta biblia, which is a plural word meaning books, not book. This is a very helpful idea that we need to keep in mind. Turning back to the subject of canon, though, again the word canon originally meant rule. A canonical book is one that is found on the list of books which the Church considers to be inspired and to contain a rule of faith and morals. The canon of sacred scripture is, literally, the official list of books of which the Bible is composed. That list was never self-evident. Who determined it? My friends, the Church determined which books belonged in the Bible, particularly the New Testament, and it determined which books did not belong. The Bible is the Church's normative, inspired library. Considering this, we might ask the question, don't Catholics and Protestants have a different Bible in the sense of contents? Actually, whenever someone says the Bible, one should always ask, whose Bible? Because the Jewish Bible, the Catholic Bible, the Protestant Bible, and other Bibles are significantly different from each other. Consider the different number of books each has. See the difference? So far as the New Testament is concerned, or Second Testament, both Catholic and Protestant and all other Christian tradition Bibles have the same number of books, 27, in the same order. 4 Gospels begin, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, followed by Acts, followed by letters of Paul, Romans, 1st, 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st, 2nd Thessalonians, 1st, 2nd Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Hebrews, James, 1st, 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, Jude, and Revelation. But the real difference of these Bibles lies in the Old Testament. To oversimplify, Jews and most Protestants have a testament or library containing 39 books, while the Catholic Old Testament contains 46 books. The red stars show the Catholic extra books. This is an oversimplification because the Church of England or Episcopal Church position is not unanimous, and we could debate whether or not the Anglican Church should even be classified as Protestants. Anglicans are really their own Christian tradition. Indeed, many Protestant churches have never committed themselves officially to the exact number of Old Testament books. Another ambiguity is that the Orthodox and Eastern churches at times have agreed with the longer canon that Catholics use, or have proposed an even larger canon. Things get a little slippery. But let's simplify things and talk about the Protestant position and the Catholic position as concerns the Old Testament. Seen in this simplified way, the 7 books that are in the Catholic Old Testament but lacking in the Protestant Old Testament are called by Catholics deuterocanonical books. Wow, deuterocanonical. Admittedly a mouthful. They are often called by Protestants the Apocrypha. These books consist of Tobit, Judith, 1st and 2nd Maccabees, Wisdom of Solomon, Sirach, also called Ecclesiasticus, and Baruch, including the Epistle of Jeremiah. And for good measure, one should throw in also Greek parts of Esther and Greek parts of Daniel. These are what are found in Catholic Bibles, but not in Protestant Bibles. The issue is quite complex, but overall one may say that these are books that were preserved in Greek, not in Hebrew or Aramaic. Some of them were originally written in Hebrew or Aramaic. Large parts of Hebrew Sirach have now been discovered, but they were not preserved in those languages. They became known to the early Jesus groups through the Septuagint, that is, the Greek translation made by Israelites living in Alexandria, living before Christ. The Septuagint would become the commonly accepted Bible of the early church dispersed throughout the Mediterranean world. The Protestant reformers had a good desire to go back to the sources. In their good desire to translate from the original languages, the reformers grew very suspicious of these 7 books, or any additional materials which were not available in Hebrew or Aramaic. For the most part, the reformers therefore rejected them. The issue was further complicated because Catholic theologians resorted to these books for support for doctrines that the reformers had rejected. For instance, consider the prayer of Judas Maccabeus and his men in 2nd Maccabees chapter 12, verses 42 to 36. Turning to supplication, they prayed that the sinful deed might be fully blotted out. the noble Judas exhorted the people to keep themselves free from sin, for they had seen with their own eyes what had happened because of the sin of those who had fallen. He then took up a collection among all his soldiers, amounting to 2,000 silver drachmas, which he sent to Jerusalem to provide for an expiatory sacrifice. In doing this, he acted in a very excellent and noble way, inasmuch as he had the resurrection in mind. For if he were not expecting the fallen to rise again, it would have been superfluous and foolish to pray for the dead. But if he did this with a view to the splendid reward that awaits those who had gone to rest in godliness, it was a holy and pious thought. Thus he made atonement for the dead, that they might be absolved from their sin. In 2 Maccabees chapter 12, verses 42 through 46, we see that the sinful deeds of the deceased soldiers might be blotted out in light of the resurrection of the dead. This was later on interpreted and used by Catholic theologians as a support for the doctrine of purgatory. One Reformation response to this was to discredit 2 Maccabees, to say it wasn't scripture. The question may be asked, will there ever be agreement on the Old Testament books that the Protestants do not accept? Will the Catholics and Protestants get together and agree? It's extremely doubtful that in the foreseeable future there will be an official statement by any Protestant church body that it now accepts the 7 disputed Old Testament books as canonical scripture. Most Protestant churches would find it difficult to agree on an authority that could make such a statement. Since the Roman Catholic Church has officially committed itself at the Council of Trent to these books being scripture, there's no chance that there will be a change in the Catholic position. But I've given you the bad news, so let's now turn to the good news. As with many sharp controversies of the 16th century, we are often finding a way around head-on confrontation, an end run, if one may use football parlance. Many Bibles that are produced under Protestant auspices now contain the 7 books, plus the parts of Esther and Daniel under the name Apocrypha. For instance, both the Revised Standard Version and the New English Bible are published in complete Bible forms containing these books. Generally, they're not mixed in with the books that all Christian groups consider canonical, as they are in Catholic Bibles, but published in a section either between the 2 Testaments, the better choice, or at the end as an appendix after the New Testament. Now, please don't misunderstand. Father Raymond Brown explains, this inclusiveness is not a statement from a Protestant group or collection of Protestant churches that these books are being recognized as canonical scripture. What this inclusion means is a recognition of 2 ecumenical facts. The first ecumenical fact recognized is that Catholics now read Protestant Bibles, and they want what they consider to be a complete Bible. The second ecumenical fact recognized is that Catholics and Protestants now study the Bible together. And these 7 books are extremely important for the understanding of early Judaism, the Judaism or Judaism that began after the exile in Babylon, and for the New Testament, the world that the New Testament came from. These books were written much closer to Jesus' day than many books in the universally accepted Old Testament, and they contain instances of ideas and outlooks that Jesus himself accepted. For instance, both the books of the Maccabees and the Book of Wisdom testify to a belief in life after death. Therefore, these books are necessary for the study of Scripture. They bridge the Old and New Testaments. As Protestant readers and students become familiar with the deuterocanonical writings, Raymond Brown says, some of the old suspicions begin to disappear, and they are not looked on anymore as hostile weapons in the hands of enemies. By the way, it's interesting to note that next to the Psalms, Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, was the Old Testament book most used by the Church Fathers. Because the patristics, the Church Fathers, found in Sirach a mine of ethical teaching that could be of service for instruction in the early Jesus groups.